This photo was taken during a real purge test, but no one was ever supposed to see it. In 1978, the government launched Project Clean Slate, a one-night experiment where all crime was legal for 12 hours. The test site, a forgotten town in Nevada called Ash Hollow. Residents were told it was a drill. Cameras were hidden in every streetlight. Guns were left in unlocked crates. And when the sirens wailed at 7 p.m., the town exploded into chaos. Neighbors turned on each other. A school teacher lit her principal on fire. A 9-year-old ran through the chaos, holding something tightly against her chest. Her father's severed hand, wrapped in a torn bedsheet. By morning, 72% of the town was dead. But here's the terrifying part. The footage was never leaked. It was shown only to top officials, who called it a resounding success. This photo was taken during a real purge test, but no one was ever supposed to see it. In 1978, the government launched Project Clean Slate, a one-night experiment where all crime was legal for 12 hours. The test site, a forgotten town in Nevada called Ash Hollow. Residents were told it was a drill. Cameras were hidden in every streetlight. Guns were left in unlocked crates. And when the sirens wailed at 7 p.m., the town exploded into chaos. Neighbors turned on each other. A school teacher lit her principal on fire. A 9-year-old ran through the chaos, holding something tightly against her chest. Her father's severed hand, wrapped in a torn bedsheet. By morning, 72% of the town was dead. But here's the terrifying part. The footage was never leaked. It was shown only to top officials, who called it a resounding success. 2 years later, in 1980, a whistleblower named Lyle Denton, who worked on the project, stole a tape and mailed it to a local news station in Utah. But the broadcast was mysteriously cut mid-air. Lyle disappeared the next day. His trailer was found burned to the ground, a single phrase carved into the dirt beside it. The purge begins when we say it does. To this day, no record of Ash Hollow exists on any map. But if you drive east of Elko and the wind is just right, you can still hear the sirens. This photo was taken during a real purge test, but no one was ever supposed to see.
All right, Shalom. First of all, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all your brothers and a few sisters out there. Unto his life foreigners from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Shalom in Hebrew, which means peace. Everything that this man does is not by accident. Everything that he does, he studies. He do deep studying. He looks into things. He looks at human behavior. Oh, yeah, that's another one. I'm thinking of scriptures. That's why I said that like that. He looks at every aspect. He studies every reactionary thing that a person will tend to do. There's a rat study. One of the elder bros was telling me about it, and I looked at it. Not even look. I seen a clip on it, and that they take rats and mice and put it into like Mice City, and getting the reaction that they wanted from them. And what they did was they realized if you put the mice in a stressful environment, they would lose it. But if you reverse that stressful environment, they'll be proper. Everything will function correctly. So the movie Purge, like a wise man said, I got it from a documentary. That's why I say it like that. And I forgot the name of the documentary. Forgive me, but I always bring it out. There's a quote that was said in that documentary. And that quote was, movies are not movies, they're documentaries. So when you see these things that seemingly to entertain us, grab our attention, and make us feel like, okay, this is entertainment. This will never happen in real life. Now that's either they had allowed certain things to happen, to study, or they're telling each other what they plan to do, which one is what they plan to do is a thing we call it predictive programming. They also call it method of the revelation. So is this far-fetched that they would have done this? Absolutely not. It makes absolute perfect sense why they would have done it. All right. And why they want to see it go through And because the elites of this world don't have you people in their best interests. Your elected leaders, the people that you swear up and down that's fighting for your rights to keep you free, excuse me, does not have your great attention. All right. They don't have your best interests. They never did have your best interests. This whole thing that's called democracy, this whole thing that's called capitalism, all right, this constitutional thing that you people love to, pump your chest on, you're gonna come to find out that it was all an experiment. This was all a joke. This was all a way to break you. All right, this was all an experiment. This is why we in it right now. We are in the downward spiral of the society because this society has lived far too long. This experiment has been going on too long, and now they're gonna want the results that they wanted. A couple of scriptures actually. So yeah, this is not far fetched. All right, none of this shit is far fetched. Let me get this real quick. Um, oh yeah. You know what? Genesis 27. I'm gonna go to the point. At 27, and this is going into Jacob and Esau. And part of this going into Jacob and Esau, Salakia, I don't know, I keep doing that for. All right, I'm gonna read it in NLT. It says, as the boys grew up, Esau became a skillful hunter. He was an outdoorsman, but Jacob had a quiet temperament, preferring to stay at home, which that's the Jacob part is not quite there. They got the skill, they got the mindset of Esau right then. This is Esau's blessing. A skillful hunter. What do hunters do? They study. They study you. All right. Oh man, I keep forgetting it. There was another thing where rich people were going around killing, um just going around killing people. Okay. And you see that in films like it's a joke. Which film is that again? Is it the Huntsman? Something like that? I forgot the name of the film where you had the rich crackers who was upset about a woman who wrote something, a blogger, and they kidnapped all the people that had a problem. And the whole thing was it was a comedy slash. It was funny. It was a comedy slash horror movie, and the point of the matter was the fact that the rich people consistently hunts down the poor. All right, and why do they do that for? It's because the simple fact is the poor have no power. So this they study human behavior. They study um your patterns. This is why they have artificial intelligence that studies certain patterns. Before artificial intelligence, they have a thing called what is it called again? Body language. So they know how they study every single aspect. This is why that organization is called a Central Intelligence Agency. It's all about skillful of intelligence. All right. This is why he is. Matter of fact, no, I'm not gonna get that. I was gonna get something else, but this is why they're demons. Okay. Psalm 64. You know what? I could read this thing. Psalm 64, and I'll read in the LSE in one. Oh Yahweh, listen to my complaint. Protect my life from my enemies' threat. Hide me from their plots of this evil mob. from this gang of wrongdoers. They sharpen their tongues like swords, and aim their bitter words like arrows. They shoot from ambush at the innocent, attacking suddenly and fearfully. They encourage each other to do evil and plan how to set traps in secret. So it's not a with them. It's not a theory. It's not a That's what I'm looking for. They got to see like what 6 years ago now. They experimented on billions of people. They told people they gave you a solution. They threw it out there, and they made you feel like the solution that they gave was the only option that was there left. There was no other option, and a lot of people felt that because they use any sort of excuses, and majority of people use excuses as jobs. I know one of my relatives who hated their particular job so much that you would think there was just the opportunity for them to leave. No, they actually did the thing that the society required from them, and then later on regret it. All right, and later on regret it. But what was that showing? They were showing they gave you an option, and the options that they gave you, you believe in your mind those are the only options. You didn't believe that there was another door. All right, so they got the masses. So when they do this scenario with the purge, they did a couple of scenarios in the hood by number one thing they did by putting guns in the neighborhoods. They created a neighborhood with no way of people can make money, starve them out, and put guns and drugs and all this other stuff, and then turn around and blame the people that literally that literally been robbed and spoiled. That they were the reasons why things the way they are, and we're seeing that again. That's why the movie the was the third movie, The Purge. The first it was called The First Purge. That it was an experiment, and they had to push people to a breaking point by what? By inciting these things. So the trap is set, and if the prey doesn't fall for the trap, we'll push the prey. The same thing with how Trump is doing. Now you really think about it, like a laundry list of things. It says, "Who will ever notice?" They ask. As they plot their crimes, they say, "We have devised the perfect plan." Yes, the human heart and mind are cunning. See, they devised a perfect plan. That perfect plan that they devise is the the essentials. We're gonna put you in an environment where everybody's gonna able to kill themselves. They didn't try to prevent it. Okay, just like the whole thing with the government shutdown. That government shutdown was primarily to see what people was gonna do, and a lot of emotional women, mainly the black woman, she fell right into the trap. All right, she fell right into the trap, and when she fell in that trap, and everybody saw it, of course, people didn't feel sorry for her. And a lot of them that got caught, they looked like fools. All they had to do was wait. And what Esau is doing, which is the premise of the show, was what? He was playing the role of God. Okay? Let me read that last part again. It says, yes, the human heart and mind are cunning. So the key word is cunning, which is deep. Okay? Let me see if I could get that. Henceforth, the cunning hunter. So the word they reframed it, they reused it, but let me see what it says here. Deep, mysterious depths, deep, unsearchable, which is self-explanatory. So their minds are deep. So they think of every single nick and cranny, everything that they could possibly think of to see somebody breaks. That's exactly what they do. They want to see you people break in a ton of pressure that they bring in. What's the saying? The slogan says again: problem, solution. They cause the problem and they have the solution. Order out of chaos. Oh, but there's no such thing as an Illuminati or anything. These are the people that's in the position of power. This is how they think. All right. The top, the heads of it, they tell the people that's under them, come up with a plan that's gonna make me satisfied. Matter of fact, let me see what the scripture says. I forgot there's they can't sleep. I think it's Psalms 15. But the wicked. Let me see if I put sleep, if it pops up. Nope, it's not wicked. Okay, let's see sleep. Nope. I'm trying to do some wordplay and see what will pop up. If I put sleep, it's gonna come up a whole bunch of stuff. But you know what? Let's narrow it down. I believe it's nope. I know it's in Psalms. I believe it's in Psalms. Or can't rest. Let me try can't rest. All right. So Lakia, sometimes it just pops into mind and just gotta narrow it down. Let's just try rest. I know. It's a long shot. Is the word how the wording is. Basically everything I gotta look up the word experiment. And that's what everything is to these people. Um wow, I won't be able to get it. Cause I can't I try can't rest. Think of another long shot. This is narrowed down quicker. Yep, I can't think of it. So basically, the scripture I'm looking for, it says that the wicked they can't sleep or they can't rest. Like they have to think of ways of harming um the poor. All right, they can't rest without thinking of how to make your lives miserable, more miserable than it is. And that's their job. Their job, and people are gonna realize that Esau has been put on earth to terrorize you. All right. Let me get one more. Let me get the primary thing I was going to get. I don't want to make this too long. Ezekiel 28. I start at 8. No, sorry, 3. It says, behold, thou wiser than Daniel. There's no secret that they can hide from thee. Because what was Daniel famous for? Interpreting dreams. That's basically to recall in a person's mind of a dream that they had. And without them even acknowledge that. That's power. That's spiritual powers. And The Lord granted him that. This is how he became famous. All right. And it says, with thy wisdom and with thy understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. By thy great wisdom and by thy traffic hast thou increased thy riches, and thy heart is lifted up because of the riches. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because thou hast set thy heart as the heart of God. Behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon thee, and the terrible of nations, and they shall draw their swords against thy beauty of thy wisdom, and the end shall defile thy brightness. So the beauty of their wisdom is to know all scenarios. The beauty of their wisdom is their wickedness, which the scriptures clearly tells you real quick. Sirach 19 and 22. The knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, neither any time the counsel of those sinners are prudence. And this is why they get together to come up with a scenario. Every time they get together, men's lives are even far worse than it was before because the powers that be. The powers that be. They make people's lives more miserable. They got their results. And what did it have the people tell? Oh, there's a work in progress. But wait a minute. The wisest, brightest individuals on earth came together, and every time they come together, is things get worse for everybody. All right, the rich gets richer, and they have more security, but the poor lose more security, lose access to food and water and so forth. So what are you really trying to say? Okay, and that's how they get you. It says there is a wickedness, the same an abomination, and there's a fool wanting wisdom, and this what proves that this man is in um a, a God, he seeks out knowledge. So this is why he experienced. Because we got to realize that the Most High is the author of all this. The Lord know how to push a man's buttons. The Lord know how to put a man in a certain situation, how to get the person to do certain things. But Esau is trying to mimic that. So he's in this God tier mode. But the Lord said, guess what? You think you're a God, but you're not a God. Okay? The Lord's going to take that same energy, that same practice that you have, the counsel that you get from the left hand side. And the Lord is going to do what? He's going to set aside you to fail miserably. Okay? And this is why the scripture says in here, behold, verse 7, behold, therefore I will bring the strangers upon thee, and the terrible of the nations, which is talking about Russia. All right? Your scenarios of if Russia is going to attack and this and that. You run all the scenarios. You have all the things. And you're willing to do certain things to push people's buttons. But guess what? Even though you got it down at the Soviet Union, this is what we're gonna do, it's still gonna fail. It says, and they shall draw their swords against thy beauty of thy wisdom, and it shall defile thy brightness. It shall bring thee down to the pit, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas, amongst the many people. Wilt thou yet say before him that slay thee, I am a God? But thou shalt be a man, and no God in the hand of him that slay thee. When the Lord comes back, he's going to take you out. All right? All the scenarios you could think of. This is why I love bringing it up. That thing is called Project Looking Glass. And no matter what they do, however scenarios that they do with, is always the same results. They cannot get out of that, the ending. All right, it's not going to go their way, which leads me to the last one, Jeremiah 50 and 24. It says, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou also taken, O Babylon, that was not aware, thou art found and also caught, because thou have strive against the Lord. So this God mode that he's in, he's going to fail. Everything that he has done, the Lord checkmated him before he even noticed. This is why he runs scenarios like this. I forgot what the project, clean slate, right? Project clean slate, because in his mind, this is how they're gonna have a clean slate to get rid of the majority of the people. But the unknown, like when you do math algebra, you got x. You can do x or y, but mostly projects is x, and that's the unknown. You have to solve the unknown. It is the unknown that is going to get these people. It's the unknown throughout all the calculations is going to fail them. All right. Now they expect some unknown things to happen, but what they don't expect for the unknown is to take a course of his own. In other words, where they can't control the scenario. They're trying to get ahead of certain things because of the simple fact, if they could get ahead of it, they go back to their God mode. But there's certain things that's going to happen. Once it happens, it's over. All right. Is it going to be a snowball effect? So they could think that they have the greatest scenario and have the people harm one another. But the scripture says, matter of fact, let me end it off on that. They could come up with the absolute close to perfect calculation. I can't deny it. However, it's still not going to change the outcome. There's different variables that's going to take place where they have not seen it. They won't see it coming. Job 20, and this is one of them. Is it 27? It says, the heaven shall reveal his iniquity, which is the satellites. All right. And what I mean by the satellites, the internet is exposing everything, exposing their darkest secret, exposing their maneuver. It says, and the earth shall rise up against him. So the earth, the people of the earth is going to come up against this man. The increase of his house shall depart, his goods shall flow away in the day of his wrath. This is the portion of the wicked man from the Most High, and the heritage appointed unto him by the Most High. So the scenario is the people, despite which I'm looking for the particular one that says the wicked. It says dun, 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 dun. There it is, 22. In the fullness of his sufficiency, which is what? Check mark. They believe in their mind. They got everybody. They're still in their new world order. He shall be in straits. That straits is difficulties. All right. He's not going to get to point A to point B easily. And I mean, I'm not talking about for the victims. It's going to be hard for the victims, but it's not going to be easy for him at all. There's going to be a lot of everything that he does is going to be met by great resistance, which is part of the unknown. All right. It's part of the unknown. When you watch, I always say this through the spirit. You watch these world-ending films and world-ending shows or whatever, however you want to do. People may say, "Oh, it's just entertainment." There's a lot of different scenarios, like it tells you in those things that shows you the different variable things that could happen, and there's always the unknown, which means that they automatically assume that is going to be out of their control. All right. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. Who's the wicked? The wicked in this particular verse is talking about Amal, the people. So the same people that they setting it up as the rats or the mice city and take away their goods and so forth. Same people that they look as nothing is going to end up harming them. Okay? So this is going to be a straight up class war, a lot of victims. That's why the top elites, they fleeing to unknown places because they know once the people get their hands on, he's not going to die as a god. He's going to realize that he is a man. And that is a promise. So with that being said, Shalom to the elected of the nation Israel. Shalom.